Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Crypto Right Now. Crypto on Monday night, kind of like Monday Night Football, but crypto here. Beto here. Hopefully you're doing really great. I hope you had a great weekend. Hope you had a great start to your week. It is April 13, and the good news is the market is green. There's a little bit of a rally going on in crypto. The world has not ended, and we're still here, man. It's good to see you guys. Good to be live with you guys again. Second week in a row, so pretty excited about that after quite a bit of a long hiatus without the streams. But as you can see, I got a new setup. Everything's looking a lot better. I got a lot better setup here at home, and I can stream more comfortably. I got more screens, I got more lighting, I got the green in the background because it was a good market today, or it's at least up to this point, up to the point of recording this live stream. But everything's going on in the market, and it's good right now. I'll talk about that. I think it's a good time to talk about some of the things that are going on externally. So in today's stream, as you can always expect, about 40-45 minutes, short show. I'm not going to be here for 3 hours. Nobody has time for that, but I do want to get to a couple of points. I'm going to talk about a little bit of what's going on in the general sense of the market, a couple of headlines. Obviously, we're going to touch on what's going on in the Middle East. Why? Not because I love talking about that, but it definitely just makes sense to talk about it because it impacts the crypto market, but also markets in general. So today it was a pretty interesting day, great day. I was at work throughout most of the day. I glance every so often at my screen, my telephone screen, just to see what's going on, and I saw that the stock market was ripping, and then crypto was also pretty doing really well. So we're gonna talk about the market, some news. I'm also gonna check out the chart. I'm going to show you the chart for Bitcoin. I'm going to show you a little bit of what I expect or what I'm looking at. I don't do very deep dives in terms of TA, but I like looking at charts because they paint a picture. They tell you kind of what's going on and what might happen. I always say I don't have a crypto wall, and this is not financial advice, but I can give you kind of an outlook of what is going on in the chart because the chart does not lie. It really paints like a really great picture. So there's two outcomes that can always happen, the bearish outcome and the bullish outcome, and I'll tell you which one I'm leaning towards over the next few months. The one thing, though, that I can say is that we're getting really close, or we're getting closer to the bottom of the market. There's a couple of theses out there that I think are interesting. One is a shorter term reversal of the market, and one other one, which I think is the most plausible, is the a little bit longer wait before the market starts turning around. But I'll get to that in a second. I hope you had a great weekend. I'll share a little bit about just what went on in my weekend. Like I said, spent it touching grass. I mean, I look at the market every once in a while now. It's amazing what a bear market does. It kind of detaches you a little bit from just the chart and watching the chart all the time because it's really pointless during the bear market unless you're a day trader. Then then you're looking at the market almost every minute or every second, I guess, if you're just trading all day. But if you're not, if you're a long-term investor like I am, where you're accumulating and then expecting things to move, or just moving your assets from one project to another, or from one currency to another, cryptocurrency to another, then you're not 100% looking at the chart all the time, except when it's a bull market, right? When it's a bull market, it's hard to take your eyes away from it. But when it's not, when it's going on like right now, I'm just comfortable with the projects that I have. And I just, I'm able to detach a little bit, especially on the weekends, spend some time with family. Went to the baseball game with my dad, which was great. It's always great to do that, and just spent some time at home chilling. And also been kind of under the weather for the last week or so. So feeling a lot better right now during the stream. So that's a plus. And I hope you're doing well as well on the other side of this camera, on the other side of this stream. So like I said, we're going to touch on Bitcoin a little bit, some news. Also going to touch about on the Bitcoin on Base, Bitcoin on Virtuals airdrop that's coming on Wednesday, April 15th. I'll tell you all you need to know before that airdrop. Also going to touch on Shiba on Base and the chart. It's getting really close to breaking out. It's been on a descent for a while now, which is expected with the market. But I think as many other projects, they're at support, right? They're at the bottom, they're bottoming out, and they're, everybody's out. So speaking of everybody's out, I want to show you something that I found today as I was really just going through Twitter or going through X. And these are the type of stories that you got to start keeping an eye on, because the more that these stories pop up, the more of a bottom signal you're going to get, right? And look, I'll give you a couple of reasons why I think we're really close to the bottom. And when I say really close, it could be, 3 months or 4 months. I'm not saying a couple of hours or a couple of days. I think there's still some time before the market reverses. And the reason I say that is because of all the crap that's going on in the world, right? People are afraid to invest in high risk assets. And I think that's going to be something that's going to happen for a while, until people become numb of the war in Iran or the Middle East and other things that are going on in terms of the economy and so on and so forth. But I want to show you this right here, because I saw this earlier today. And it was so funny because, it says Steve Aoki has finally given up on crypto. According to blah, 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 legendary DJ Steve Aoki is fully out of the market. He recently dumped positions in SHIB token. I could have told him to drop SHIB a long time ago. I dropped it like 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, and I'm happy I did. And then he sold some Ethereum as well. That's, I don't know how much ETH he had, but it's about $30,000. Pretty sizable bag, not, life changing, at least at this point. But I don't know why. I mean, I would have just, he probably sold at a loss. I'm thinking he sold at a loss, because we're pretty close to the a bottom. He still has some NFTs, blah, 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 whatever. But anyway, first off, I didn't know that Steve Aoki was still, DJing. I remember him a while back, and I think he had some good music. I was never like an electronic music person. But anyway, he dumped his SHIB. I think he's a little bit late to dump SHIB, but that's just my opinion. But what I'm trying to get here in terms of showing you this, story, which is, it's not really meaningless. And some people might say, well, who cares if this guy is dumping, his crypto? You know how we always talk about during the peak of the bull market, when there's euphoria and all that, we always talk about, your grandma talking about crypto, your parents talking about crypto, and people that necessarily don't always, talk about crypto, talking about crypto. When that happens, we always say, is the bottom in? I mean, the top in, right? So if you flip things around, and we're talking about now the bear market and the bottom of the bear market, obviously timing it's going to be very difficult. And that's not, what I always say or advocate for. I'm not never advocating for somebody to time the bottom or time the top, because it's just very, very difficult, and it's almost like a crapshoot. But when you see these stories, you got to think that, hey, we're getting really close, right? Because we're getting like people like this dude, pretty famous DJ, saying that they're dumping. Everybody's leaving pretty soon. Only like the diamond handlers and people that are, that understand crypto, people that are fully, in it, for the long haul, are going to be left. Because I think about, I would say from the people that I saw just even 2 years ago, when we had the big, big runs in April 24, and then November 24, and then a couple times in 25, even before the October dump in 25 Q4, we have maybe 9 out of 10 people have left crypto because of what's going on. I think some folks are just, leaving, and then they'll come back, and, we don't know exactly when the bottom's going to happen, but I think we're getting close to it just because of what we're seeing in terms of news. Shout out to Pauline LLC. Love you too, man. Good to see you here. We'll talk about Pauline in a little bit, in a few minutes, after we get through some of these headlines and some of the stuff that's going on with Bitcoin, and the charts, and some other lists that I'm going to go through. But yeah, we're going to talk about SHIB on Base. Charts looking really good to me. We'll talk about that. But just in the end, what I'm trying to get to is that I think we're pretty close. Like I said, it might not be a week, might not be 2 weeks. It could be maybe, several months, maybe 3 months, but we're getting really close. I think the biggest part of the dump has been done. but I still think we might see some red. We might have some sort of other dump eventually to really shake out the last few people, and then we'll start to see a reversal. But I think we need to see some things change, right? The new Fed chair, might do it. The war, definitely the conflict in Iraq is going to be something that Iran, I should say, it's going to be something that needs to kind of turn around. Even though I think that, and I'll talk about this in a second, the resiliency that even Bitcoin is showing, in spite of all the turbulence that's going on in terms of geopolitics and all that stuff, should be something that you should pay attention to. But I'll get to that right now. So let me show you a little bit of just the biggest headline today. There's still a lot of back and forth going on in terms of the Iran-U.S. conflict over there in the Middle East. There's a blockade going now on Iranian ports, according to the news today, and that was announced by President Trump this morning. Essentially, a lot of it's like a chess game going on. It's a back and forth. There's not a lot of bombing in this war or a lot of destruction like you've seen in previous wars. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not looking at the pictures correctly, but it seems like there's a lot more posturing and we'll take control of the strait, and then we come in, or the U.S. comes in, and then we're gonna go after your ports, and it's just back and forth, a lot of BS thrown around back and forth, and you really don't know exactly what's going on when you look at the news, especially like on X and other platforms. But you know what? It's happening. It's the good thing here is that there's no nukes being deployed as of yet, and I'm hoping that never happens, because then a lot of people are going to get hurt, and it's just going to be devastating. And then we're really talking about I know it sounds selfish, but then we're really talking about a market that's going to just be completely depleted and destroyed, not only the crypto market but every other market if something like that happens. So it's not in the best interest for anybody of deploying nukes and sending nukes, either one side or the other. And I think both sides know, and I think the world knows, but there's always the possibility of that, even though it's slight. But hopefully this is going to be something that soon starts dwindling down, or at least there's some sort of true negotiation that happens, or once that might be an indicator for a nice run for the next few months, or the next month or so. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But that's what's going on. And the reason why I wanted to talk about it is because it definitely impacts the markets, right? It impacts the stock market, impacts crypto market. And I think that's something that you've seen over the last 24 hours, where there's been at least some progress. Maybe people are excited, or people are optimistic that we are taking control, or the U.S. is taking control of the ports and all that stuff. I'm not sure. I think that's something for somebody else to analyze, and for somebody else to really opine on. For me, it's just I'm just looking at it closely. I'm not going crazy and deploying my money anywhere. I'm accumulating certain projects little by little. I'm waiting for the right time. I think there's still going to be one great moment for a really nice entry to Bitcoin still. Which is the one asset that I think I have less of. I really want to accumulate more. But anyway, that's what's going on with the war. So as long as this stuff is happening, I think we're going to see some ups and downs. But the one thing that I want to talk about, I want to show you the chart, because I want to take a few minutes to talk about just Bitcoin and what I'm seeing here in terms of the chart and so on and so forth, is that if you really think about it, we've seen maybe like 6 weeks of the Iran U.S. conflict. It's been about 6 weeks or so. I've lost track. I'm not taking looking at the calendar, looking at that, but you would expect maybe even more downside to Bitcoin, but it's been pretty resilient. Oil has been going up crazy. There's been huge volatility for oil. Gold has also dropped. There's also been some volatility for oil. There's also been a volatility in the stock market, yet Bitcoin has been pretty steady. Bitcoin has been, kind of in an accumulating zone, or in a channel, right? And it's this channel right here, kind of where the cursor is, and then the bottom of that range. Let me do something real quick, because I want to show you with the mouse. Hopefully you can see that. But yeah, so it's been, that didn't work. That's fine. it's been like, kind of like steady sailing for Bitcoin. I mean, it hasn't gone down more than 65K. It's bounced up a couple of times. It's almost like it found a bottom at 65K. And look, it's been forming these, a new bear flag, ever since it dropped all the way to 60K February 6th of this year. So it's been about a month and a week since that happened. And it's been, trading in this range. It's higher highs and higher lows, which is typically a bear flag, bearish flag, and it happened already over here. So let me do some little bit of drawing with some nice big arrows. It already happened here where it broke down and it just completely, got devastated, and it went all the way down. So there's a couple things that can happen here, and I got some circles. Hopefully you see it. I'll zoom out in a little bit, but I think that this has been a really good indicator about Bitcoin and the strength that it has. And look, I'm not a Bitcoin maxing. I don't have a ton of Bitcoin, and it's not my shindig. It's not my thing, but I follow it and I look at it because it's the leading indicator really for the crypto market. How Bitcoin goes, everybody else goes, or everything else goes. Not necessarily all the time, but it's going to be a good indicator, and it'll show you kind of how the market is going. When Bitcoin is rallying, a lot of other things are rallying, and it's just a really great way of looking at crypto in the market. But when you're looking at it, and when I look at this, I still see it. I'll zoom out a little bit. I still see the possibility of kind of traveling through this channel and then somehow, breaking down again and coming down either to 64,000 like that, or coming down even to 60,000 again. And then, do something like that again, the possibility of going to 45, and I'll stop there, or the possibility of kind of continuing in this range. I'm running out of space here, and just this being the kind of the bottom, and then going upwards. Let me paint that like that for you guys, so hopefully you can see that nicely. So I'm kind of scribbled all over the place there, but I'm seeing two possibilities there. And those are kind of the target areas where I'm looking to kind of jump in on Bitcoin. Look, there's also possibility of just something crazy going on, something crazy happening, and maybe it breaks down to 65K, and then it just completely rockets, and it changes things, and it changes the whole market. I don't think that's something that might happen, but it could, right? So anyway, I'm really looking closely at this this bearish flag, because I already did it once. Right, already did it once up here in this flag, and it broke down. And I would expect this to happen again somewhere around there, maybe like in May, because we could be seeing sideways movement for Bitcoin for a while. And let me zoom out so I can show you this real quick. This is the zoom out, and it's the 1-day chart, by the way. Just look at what happened between. Jeez, I need to pay for this. Let me show you what happened, kind of zooming out and kind of, scrunching things up. Look at what happened. Let me see if I can find something to show you with. So this rectangle, look at what happened here, right? This section right here. So it started between January 24th, Tuesday, January 23rd, around that time. At least that's when let's see, it's right there. So it's February 17th to around when it broke out to November. So that's a long time. That's a long time trading sideways. That was all 24, all the way 24, and this was lower highs and lower lows, right? That was a bullish flag right there. So potentially, that kind of stuff can happen. It'd be like a head and shoulders pattern somewhere over here, right? And it continued to do that. That's why I got these circles here. Because that's the area where I'm looking to in terms of a possible really nice entry. Because somebody can say, well, you know what, it might, that might be stupid because it might go down. Let me show you why, right? Because if it's a head and shoulders, and it goes down here, well, somebody might say it might. What if it drops down, lower like this? I don't think that might happen. I don't think that would happen just because of of this stuff over here. Um, all this stuff over here, like all the support, all the support levels, and just the accumulation zone that you would think this is. So what I think is going to happen is that there's going to be a zone, and sorry, and this chart's getting messy. Um, I think that this area right here is going to be kind of sideways trading for a while, right? It might break down from this, this, bearish flag, but it maybe, could be some sort of accumulation zone right there. And then I'm looking at this red line. I have this red line just to kind of, it's like super simple TA, and it's just like something. Look, I think it's whoever says they can predict. I mean, very few people can predict, even with TA. But this red line is October 11th, October 9th or so, or 10th. Let me see what it is. It's October 8th. So that's just 1 year. That's 1 year from the top of the previous peak of Bitcoin. So that would be up here. That would be October 6th. That was the top of the bull market, the 4-year bull market last year. So it was 126,000. Everybody remembers that. And it was just, it peaked in apathy. Not really, no euphoria. I think people were expecting 250K. I don't know what it was. We were just all, kind of numb to it. We were expecting, higher numbers. Remember all those people calling for 250, $1 million, pretty insane. And then, we had that big drop on October 10th that started the cascade in the bear market. So from that point, October 10th or October 6th, which was the peak, to this point right here where I have these circles, that would be October, like the first week of October. And I would time it. I would say that that's where it's going to be close to being the bottom. Maybe it's before. Some people are thinking it might be before, and some people are saying, hey, why not? We might be, jumping up, in May or June or July. It can happen. I always, remember the summers are really slow time for crypto. June, July, and August are pretty slow for crypto. People are spending their money, having a good time, touching grass, doing stuff with their families. They're not necessarily, trying to trade and buy. It could happen, but history rhymes, right? Or at least that's the saying. So I think definitely that's something to look forward to. The next few months are going to be very interesting. I think definitely what I'm keeping an eye on, I'm going to go back to this closer chart. Definitely keep an eye on this section here, because there's a lot that's going to be riding in terms of holding, this channel and a possible breakdown. I'm pretty sure it's going to break down, just based on TA. And like I said, I'm not an expert in TA, but I think it's probably going to break down. And I'm going to assume, or I'm not going to assume, I'm going to speculate and say that it's going to trade sideways here, for a while, kind of like it did back in the left shoulder of the head and shoulders pattern, and so on and so forth. And then October 10th, maybe we start seeing what could be, the start of a new bull market. It might happen like that. There's all sorts of factors that need to actually get, come into play. But I think that at least that's what I'm seeing, and that's what I'm looking at. For the most part, I think the biggest takeaway of the last, couple of weeks or month is that Bitcoin has not gone to crap, right? It has not gone to 40K at least yet. I don't expect it to go to 44K, but it could. But I'm expecting it to possibly go into the 50s one last time before it starts, accumulating again and then getting ready for the new bull market. At least that's why my optimistic or my bullish outlook long term. But definitely thinking it still might go down a little bit, because you never know what's going to happen between now and the end of the year, right? Because we're looking then, if the bull market, if you believe in the 4-year bull market, 4-year bull cycle of Bitcoin, and I don't see any reason why not to believe in it, because it did happen. Just because there was no altcoin season and just because it peaked in pure apathy doesn't mean the cycle 4-year cycle is gone. Initially I thought it was gone, and I thought, that right now we were going to be seeing, just the peak of Bitcoin. It's hard to accept when you have a different thesis and the market tells you something different and shows you something different and facts shows you something different. There's cognitive dissonance, so you're not understanding really what's going on. So you try to flip the narrative and try to make sure that the way you're thinking kind of fits, the narrative, or vice versa, right? You try to make the narrative fit your beliefs, but the reality is that the 4-year cycle is still there. I think so. Until proven otherwise, I think it's a great way of still looking at the market. So if you're believing in the 4-year market, 4-year bull cycle still, October is going to be likely, or around October is going to be likely the turnaround point, because it's every cycle. It has taken Bitcoin from the top to the bottom about a year, or almost exactly a year before it bottoms out. Now, this year could be different. I think crypto has changed a lot just because of the introduction of the ETFs in terms of Bitcoin and other altcoins. There's a lot more institutions now controlling price. So there's every day that goes by, I think there's going to be less volatility in the market. So we might not see Bitcoin go down as far as some people think, right? I'm thinking the most bearish outlook for me is like 44,000 for Bitcoin. I don't think that's as likely as it just going sideways for a while and holding around the 58, 60, and then a little bit higher, and then just starting to rise up, right? So that's kind of my outlook on Bitcoin. Let me know what you think about that. Let me know what your thesis is, or let me know what your outlook is for Bitcoin, short term, long term. Let me know. There's still time, I think, to accumulate. There's still time to really establish your positions. And look, this is the first full like bear market that I'm in 100% every day, still watching the market and still looking for opportunities, but mostly still just prepping for what's going to be a full bull market. The last bull market, I got in a little bit late, and I wasn't really there early. I think when you're early, you got to start looking at those exit points and so on and so forth. And talking about exit points, I'll talk about some exit points in a second. But anyway, that's kind of my outlook for Bitcoin. Like I said, leave me your comment below. Let me know your thoughts. What do you think about this? Am I just crazy? Am I kind of in the ballpark? Look, I accept constructive criticism. Let me know if I'm off. This is very novice TA, I gotta say, but at least it's kind of like painting a good picture of what could be, right? So anyway, that's what's going on with Bitcoin. Let's take a look real quick at other assets and see what's going on with just the general market. Bitcoin is up 8%, 8.5%, or 8.6% in the last 7 days. At 74,000 at the time of this video. I think that's good. It was around 70,000, so it's up about 4K over the last 24 to 48 hours. So that's actually 5%, almost 4.5 last 24 hours. That's pretty sweet. Ethereum is up to 2,300 bucks. I think about a week ago is at 2,100, so we're up a little bit in terms of ETH, 12.6% over the last 7 days, which is pretty good. And then let's see, XRP is up 3.8%. Solana is up 8% at $88.20, so pretty good. Tron has been doing really well. That chain has been doing a lot better over the last couple of weeks. I have no idea why, but I think it's doing all right. I remember it had its own bull market a while back with some meme coins there. Dogecoin, however you want to call it, it's at just under 10 cents. With a 3.3% gain in the last 7 days, is still doing all right. One of the top meme coins, all over the place. Hyperliquid is one of those that I'm really taking a look at really closely, and I think it's one that I will hopefully, keep in my watch list, because I think it's a cool project. I think it's just really good, but also just I think has a lot of potential. It's one of those projects that I think has quite a bit of potential. So Cardano, I used to have that. Don't have any Cardano anymore. I just don't believe in it anymore, but it's still hanging in there at 12 in terms of altcoins, in terms of crypto. And then you get into Monero and Zcash. I think Zcash for a lot of people is a good one. It's up 43% in the last 7 days, which is pretty insane. Let's see if there's anything other. Litecoin, I love Litecoin. I don't even know why, because it's one of the old school ones. I think it was probably my first crypto that I bought, Litecoin, just many years ago. I don't have any, but I've thought about it. And then Tau, I think Tau has had a great run. It had like a little bit of a drop. Let's see how it's doing. I'm gonna just click on Tau Bit Sensor and see how it's last month. It had a huge drop recently, but let's see this year. It's not bad. That's the whole chart. The top for 715 bucks. Wow, that's a pretty all-time high. I think 715, 708 again in December 24. So the 2024 was a great year for Tau, and now it's I think an accumulating phase. But we'll see where it goes. Let's take a look at some of the other indicators for just the general market. The fear and greed index is at 54, which is not bad at all. But I don't look. I think that that's just one indicator. I don't think you really can just base anything on that because it's just basically reading sentiment, and sentiment can change from one day to another. Just remember in February when it was like 5, right? It was 5. It was insane. It was just ridiculous. And right now it's 54, but I wouldn't even think that people are bullish at this point, or greedy, or not in fear. So I don't know. I wouldn't really base my investing strategy on anything that has to do with the fear and greed index. I think it just gives you a little bit of an outlook as to what's going on. Shout out to anybody that's out there. Leave me your comments in the chat box. I want to say hello to you guys. Let me know you're here. Let me just see if there's anybody out there. Cool. Shout out. Anyway, let's go back. And then the total crypto market cap for just the whole market is $2.52 trillion, still about half of what it was just about 6 months ago. So anyway, that's kind of what's going on in the general crypto market. And then one last chart for you before I go into Bitcoin on Base and then also SHIB on Base. Those two charts, I'll talk about those two projects in a couple of minutes. But look at the chains, and Base is number 6. Plasma, I don't know what Plasma is. I've heard of it, but really need to look into it. But anyway, Base is doing really well. Tron, like I said, it just flipped Bitcoin and Base in terms of total value locked. Tron, which is pretty cool for Tron. I mean, I don't have anything on Tron, but anything, Tron is pretty cool. It went up 20%. Anyway, Plasma is up 96%. That's insane. 24-hour volume, 19 million. So it's not a lot. I think maybe that's why. Let's say total value locked 2 billion. So that's all right. Looking good. Hey, Sarah, good to see you, Sarah. Thanks for stopping by. You're always the ray of sunshine in this like very dark crypto bear market. So always happy to see your messages here and there on Telegram and on X. So thanks for stopping by. Appreciate you. So we got Ethereum, Solana, always the top dogs. Base was up on 5th spot recently, but it's now on 6th, and it's gonna just hover around there. Maybe one of these streams, maybe next week, I'll take a look at the Base ecosystem and how it's doing in terms of infos compared to other chains. I'll look at that because I think that's a good indicator for anybody that has projects on the Base chain. If you have projects on the Base chain and Base is doing well, obviously that's something good, right? So we'll take a look at that, and maybe next time I'll take a look at Plasma just to see what the heck Plasma is. I have no idea what Plasma is. I've seen it before. Their logo is kind of cool. And I'll take a look at it, but not now. So anyway, so let's take a quick look. I want to talk real quick about, I'll talk first about Bitcoin on Base and Bitcoin on Virtuals. And the reason why I want to talk about these two projects is because obviously they're projects that are, in the same ecosystem, kind of like, I'll talk about that in a second, but there's an airdrop happening on Wednesday, April 15th. It's the quarterly airdrop for not only Bitcoin on Base. Bitcoin on Base has been dropping Bitcoin on holders that have 2,400 tokens or more for the last year. And how that happens is that basically, essentially, there's a mining pool. A lot of the investors of Bitcoin on Base have allocated funds to a mining initiative where that mining basically mines Bitcoin. And then that Bitcoin is converted into Coinbase Wrap Bitcoin, and it's dropped on all the holders that have 2,400 tokens of Bitcoin on Base every quarter. So there's one quarterly airdrop. Hopefully, as soon it'll be a monthly thing, kind of like a dividend for stocks or for ETFs or something like that. In this case, it's an airdrop, and currently Bitcoin on Base is doing well. I think it's bottomed out as well, like many other projects during this bear market. It's a $1.6 million market cap and at 10 cents per token. Now, I think that's around 240 bucks, right? And it gets you an airdrop. So not a bad deal. I mean, if you have more, definitely you can buy more, but that's a good deal, right? You get an airdrop. We'll see what the airdrop is. It might not be big just because of the bear market. Obviously, that has an influence in the mining yield that we're getting, or that the project is getting. But it's there, right? It's a functioning project. There's utility behind Bitcoin on Base, and now we got Bitcoin on Virtual. So let me show you the chart for Bitcoin on Base. This is something that's been a project now that's somewhat mature. I don't have the date. I think it's peer created a year and 10 months ago. So we're coming on 2 years for Bitcoin on Base, which is pretty cool. And the community's there. It's quiet right now because of it's the bear market. But there's a core community there that's still working. That's still working towards something positive. And we'll see where it goes, right? So the charts right there, it's good. The all-time high for Bitcoin on Base was about, what was it, like 31 mil back when it launched. Obviously, that was kind of like a big drop, but it has a couple of peaks at 16 mil, right? And so this is a very interesting project to me. And I look, full disclosure, I have a nice bag, really good bag, a really good, really good position in Bitcoin on Base, because I'm expecting it to eventually, do something really wild, and I want to be there for it because it's going to be really fun. But this one is also tied to Bitcoin on Virtuals. Bitcoin on Virtuals is the sister project, or the brother project, or cousin project, however you want to call it. It was launched past Thanksgiving in November, and this is Bitcoin on Virtuals, is on also the Base chain, but this one is on the Virtuals ecosystem. This one is also mining Bitcoin. They have a miner. There's transparency. The dev is posting all that's happening. He even posts when he pays the electricity bill. That's pretty cool. I don't see any projects. First, I don't see any projects that are mining Bitcoin. At least haven't seen many of them. At least small caps. And then this one has a lot of great communication that's coming from the dev. So appreciate that. Appreciate Joe. And then what it does is, it's also, if you have 1 million tokens of this, 100,000 tokens of Bitcoin on Virtuals, you're going to get an airdrop on Wednesday, April 15th as well. Now, here comes the cool part. If you like tokens, if you like projects like these, if you have 100,000 tokens of Bitcoin on Virtuals, and you have 2,400 tokens of Bitcoin on Base, these two, you're going to get airdrop on both. So it's like a dual yield. So you're going to get also the Coinbase wrap Bitcoin on top of this. So you get 3 airdrops. You get Bitcoin on Base, Bitcoin on Virtuals, and you get also the Coinbase wrap Bitcoin. Maybe I confused you. If I did, I apologize. You should do your own research anyway. You should do your own due diligence. Go do that. Go to the website for Bitcoin on Virtuals. There's a really great explanation. I'm going to just click on it so you see how it looks, so you don't go to a different website. Bitcoin on Virtuals is a really clean website. So 100K unlocks the mining rewards, and then the dual engine. Let's see, the dual yield, or however, what was the name of this? Looking for it. Dual asset yield engine. That's what it is. Badass name. Dual asset yield engine. So holding 100K BTCB and then holding 2,400 BTCB activates the dual yield. So you'll get BTCB, you'll get BTCB, so both Bitcoin on Base and Bitcoin on Virtuals, and then you'll get Coinbase wrap Bitcoin dropped in your wallet. Now, the important thing that you need to know here is that if you're holding your tokens on a centralized exchange, it's not going to be possible for you to get the airdrop. You have to have your tokens on a decentralized exchange. That's it. That's my coverage of Bitcoin on Base, Bitcoin on Virtuals, and the dual yield engine. So let's take a look now at SHIB on Base, currently trading at a $1.6 million market cap. As always, really great community. Everybody's lively there. It's always a party in that Telegram and on X. It's been on a descent. And remember that earlier in the stream when I talked about Steve Aoki, the DJ that left, crypto recently, and it was news. I think a lot of people, the non-believers are out. A lot of people are out, not only on Bitcoin, not only on Ethereum, not only on other projects, but on projects, great projects like SHIB on Base, right? I think just people are impatient and they don't like waiting for things to develop. And there is no project like SHIB on Base out there when it comes to meme tokens with utility. When it comes to projects with utility, there is nothing like it. SHIB on Base, if you're new to this stream and if you're new to this project, it's a token on the Base chain. It's about, I think it's going to be a year old. Let's see when the pair was created. Yeah, there were 10 months, 9 months, and 28 days ago, the pair was created. So we got 2 more months before there's a birthday for SHIB on Base. And this became a community takeover a few months after its inception. And Paul, the dev, has been working on this. He's been relentlessly working on this project, and he has everything lined up. And he's ready to go as soon as the market starts turning to do more marketing and all that stuff. But anyway, you can do your own due diligence and do your own research. But at this point, SHIB on Base has an application on both Apple and Android that is a veterinarian app that you can connect your wallet, and if you have the tokens, the number of tokens needed, you can use it for free. But if you don't, then you can just subscribe. And it's this great app where you can just take care of your pet better. It's like almost having a veterinarian in the pocket or on your phone, where you can ask the questions, and all the research and all the answers are going to be based on actual research articles and pet care and veterinarian research. And it's powered by Eli 5A, which is also a great technology I'll cover again. I've covered it in this channel before, but I'll be doing more coverage of that sort of stuff as we move forward and start getting into the bull market again whenever that happens. But as of now, I do want to cover this because I think we're getting really close to breaking out of this descending trend for SHIB on Base. If you look at it, we're really close. Drew that line, from the recent top, which was back in January. We're up at $8.5 million. And then we started a descent. Some people sold, and that kind of stuff happens. So right now we're at a kind of like a bottom of 1.4, 1.5. That was the bottom recently. But it's looking like it's about to break out, and I would say it's going to break out of this trend April 18th. So we're about a week away from this breaking out. It might break out early, and somebody comes in and does a big buy, then we'll break out of it. But we're getting really close to the breakout. Whether that breakout is just trading sideways, right, or starting to climb up to that 8.5 mil again, because it's been trading in that channel. I don't know. It just depends on the market and depends on what's going on also with the project. But all that I know is that there's room for upside, huge upside. I think we're at the bottom, as if you can see, from the chart. Let me see. Let's see if I can get an arrow. This was like a bottom right there, and this is just another bottom. So it's almost like a double bottom. So I would expect this to start moving in this direction again eventually. Whether it's like a parabolic climb all the way to up 8 million again, I don't know. It's done that many times. If you've been around SHIB on Base, that it's been doing some crazy stuff every once in a while. It's pretty exciting to see it move. Just like other projects like Swell, but SHIB gets crazy, the Telegram gets crazy, X gets crazy for SHIB on Base. But anyway, we're here, we're waiting for this. It's going to happen. It's going to take time. The market conditions need to get better. Everybody knows, and you should know that projects are going to move with the market as well, right? Very few projects moon, or I'm not here for to talk about mooning, but very few projects go up significantly during the bear market. It's almost a gimme. So, Shibon Base, definitely check it out. That's something that you do want to check out, a project that you do want to check out. It's currently, like I said, at 1.6 mil. It's trading number 4 on Dex Screener. Just got to do some research and check it out. Also check out Pauline. I mean, Pauline's a great app. I don't have a pet, so I don't use it as much. My wife does. My mother-in-law, so they use it a little bit. And it's way better than ChatGPT, by the way, or any other AI thing. So definitely check it out. I think it's worth your time and worth your not financial advice, but your investments possibly. Anyway, all right, guys. I think that's it. For tonight. Hopefully you had a good time, and hopefully you're having a great time if you're watching elsewhere. This live stream. Definitely looking forward to another week. And looking forward to more of these live streams. Again, I am Beto on Base. Hopefully you had a great start to your week on a Monday. And let's keep just an even keel during this crazy market. Let's just continue to watch what's going on. If you can accumulate. But let's stick around, because if you want to, what I always say, if you want to make it through in this market, if you're going to be successful in this market, you got to think differently, but you also got to keep your emotions in check. And that's why we're here, just trying to be a disciplined investor. Whether you're a trader or whether you're a long-term investor, I'm going to be here just chatting it up. And then hopefully, eventually, once things start going off in the market, we'll be here as well to take a look at it and make sense. So I am here during the bear market. You can believe that I'll be here for the bull market. Like and subscribe, guys, if you're watching. Like and subscribe, leave your comments below, and I appreciate you. Hopefully you have a good one.